Alright guys, I'm recording. It is, 5 or 6 classes away from the end. And I'm going to post your final thing today. Doesn't mean you have to finish it today. It just means you're going to know what's there and move through the next few steps, starting from wherever you are currently. The first draft was getting your ideas and matching a few criteria. The second draft said, hey, here's a couple more, but write a little paragraph about how you've changed and how it's evolved since the first version. And then the third draft is really focusing on one thing, because I wanted to save this for last because it's really important, and I've mentioned it along the way. If I've commented on your poems somewhere along the way, you've probably heard me say something about verbs. That's the key in any kind of writing, but especially in poems, you want to get some really good verbs. So what does that mean? If you have is, was, has in every line, it gets really repetitive. First of all, because those are boring on their own. Second, because they all sound the same. With that ending, is, was, has, they all have that soft S ending. It really sounds boring if you hear a couple of those in a row. So we want to change that. Luckily, when you change that, you're often like compressing 3 or 4 words all into one, and it makes it really pack a punch that it might not otherwise. So for example, if you say like, he was moving across the room, well, that's like really bland. We don't know how he's moving across the room. We don't get a sense of the sound, the visual, the emotion. But if there's a guy moving across the room, tell us how, Did he run across the room? That implies a certain amount of, intensity. If he's really light on his feet and zooming, you might say he zoomed or he dashed. Or you might even get more abstract and say something that's not literally true, but often we describe things with exaggeration. You might say like, oh, he teleported across the room, just to show the idea that he was so fast. He just kind of appeared at the other end, Or, if somebody's going across the room in a slow way, maybe he moseyed across the room. Or maybe he trudged. Or maybe he complained across the room. Okay? You want to have a word that describes what the thing looks like, what it feels like, maybe has a certain rhythm, maybe has a certain sound. And that's the art of it. That's the creative writing part of it, where you choose a word that really does the job a lot of other words could do, but it packs it all into one package. Okay. Over the last few days, I've been walking back and forth to school. I live pretty close, and if the weather's not too bad, I can just walk here or walk home in the afternoon. And for a couple days in a row, I saw this strawberry. The first day, it really stood out because it was like this big, fresh, plump strawberry that it wasn't thrown away because it was bad or something. I mean, it looked great. It must have like accidentally fell out of somebody's hand or something. And it was just in the road, this bright, beautiful strawberry. And I walked by, and then the way home, I walked by it, and it seemed okay. And then the next day, it still looked pretty good. It was still in the same spot. But then the third day, it had rained, and it was kind of like darker in color and mushy. And then a couple days later, it was still there, but it was really dried out, and you could tell that it was probably 30% of its original size. If I was going to describe that in a poem, my number one thing, the number one concern I would have to start with is finding some good verbs, okay? I would want to say how it withered, it shrank, it, had some verbs that described the physical, but also maybe some verbs that described the feeling. What is that strawberry feeling? Is it languishing? Is it wishing to be picked up? Is it pining for its home among the others or in a cake? Is it dreaming of the desserts it could be a part of? I don't know, but I'd want to focus on that, and I'd want to give every line a nice, big, juicy, interesting verb. And if I did, it'd be a poem.